So have you ever wondered why mixing is just so difficult? It seems like such an easy concept, but yet when you go down to actually mix, it's just none of it makes sense. Today, I want to break it all down for you in essentially why mixing is hard, and it'll give you the framework to understand how to do it better and ultimately get a professional sound from your songs. Hi, my name's Tyson. I'm a mastering engineer here at Dinosaur Dog Mastering, and today we're going to be diving into why mixing is so difficult and also strategies to work around these concepts that make mixing so difficult. But before I do that, I want to share with you my Pro Mix Formula course. You can get that for free, and it gives you a formula to actually get a professional mix. So it breaks all of this complex stuff down with audio into a very simple framework that you can follow with every single mix and ultimately get more professional mixes and masters from your music. So you can get that for free in the description or in the first comment under this video. You can also find a link to get access to that course. Again, completely free. It is my gift to you for watching this video. Okay, let's dive into actually why mixing is so difficult. So I have three main points for you of why mixing is just not easy. So the very first point that I have for you is the limitation of sound inside of a mix. So oftentimes you'll run into this analogy of mixing is like a cube, and you have the height, the width, and the depth. And I think this is a great analogy for mixing because it describes all the different aspects of the mix that can be, right? So the width is the panning, so the left and right stereo field. The depth is going to be your spatial elements, so reverbs, how far things sound away from you, etc. So you want to create some elements in the very back, some elements in the very front in order to create this depth of your cube. And then also the height of the cube is most often represented as the frequency spectrum. So the bottom is your sub bass frequencies, the top is the little really high crispy frequencies, and ultimately we are bound by those three parameters: by space, by width, and by height. We can't go deeper than we can physically hear. We can't go wider than hard right or hard left. And we can't go higher than the frequency spectrum due to we can't actually hear things beyond those bounds. What does this have to do with making mixing more difficult? It's difficult because we have to fit all of the various elements that we have inside of our mix into this box. And we can't have these items overlapping each other because then the box will be messy and we can't actually determine what's inside of the box. Our job as a mixing engineer to use those three parameters to separate all of the elements so that as an onlooker, I can see all of the elements inside of the mix and ultimately get a more professional and clear sounding mix due to the way that you shape these elements with each other. So it's less making each element sound great by itself. It's more building relationships between all those items to then be able to perceive what's actually going on inside of the mix. So the second thing that's extremely difficult when you're mixing is maintaining objectivity. So I like to say that mixing is 70% objective and 30% subjective. So the objective part of mixing is ensuring that we have a sonically balanced mix, right? So your vocals and your kick drum and your snare are at a reasonable balance, that one isn't overpowering the other ones. Your electric guitars aren't too loud and drowning out your vocals, etc. So that's the balance, the balance section of this. And ultimately also EQ comes into play here as well, of EQing each element so that it creates a sonically balanced mix. And so our high end isn't too overhyped, or we don't have too much harsh 3K frequencies, etc. When we're actually inside of the mix though, our ears become fatigued very quickly, especially if we monitor loudly. We just essentially become accustomed to all of these sounds that are coming at us. And even if they sound bad, we just regulate our own brain into thinking that that is the baseline of what sounds okay. And then we actually lose our ability to improve the mix because we've lost all of our objectivity when it comes to the mix. The ways to get around this is to use metering, so frequency analyzers, using actual references of other songs that other people have mixed to keep us in line of that's our baseline, not our mix. And then third is monitor quietly. The quieter you monitor, especially on headphones, then the more objective you're going to be long-term inside of that mix. And then the third thing I have is actually related to the first one. I kind of already touched on it, is creating separation inside of our mix to be able to use EQ to cut out and shape all of the various elements inside of our mix to create a unified whole song that has all of the elements apparent inside of it. So we actually have to basically carve out sections of sounds that makes the individual items sound bad, but in the context of the mix, it still sounds great. And maybe that's a little bit too esoteric for you. I have other videos on actually creating separation inside of your mix and actually how to use these techniques inside of an actual example. But overall, we just need to create space for each element inside of the mix, as well as maintaining the sonic balance between those items and ultimately ending up with an awesome sounding, sonically balanced mix. These are the 3 reasons why mixing is so difficult. It is the limitation of audio sound. We can only have so much sound inside of each mix. Second, we need to maintain objectivity. And then third, it's actually creating a space for each element, making individual elements sound a little bit bad, but being able to make it sound better as a whole due to those limitations and that separation that we're creating using EQ. So those are the 3 things that I think are the hardest thing to do inside of a mix and ultimately end up with a professional sounding mix. Again, if you want to learn more and want to take my free course on getting a professional mix, then you can get the Pro Mix formula down below in the description or on the first comment. You can also pick that up and get access to that course for free as my free gift to you. Okay, with that said, I hope to see you on the inside of the course, or I'll see you in the next video.